Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. This is round 3 back 9 MPO lead card coverage of the 2024 Belgian Open in only 9 holes. Your next DGPT Europe champion will be crowned. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor? Nice to be here once again. That was some exciting action that we had on the front 9. 4 players within 1 stroke of the lead. Those players being Nestori, Tuhkanen, Teemu, Lampainen, Silverlat and Kevin Konsorr. Incredible front 9 from Kevin. Other guys on the card holding on but still in position to win this tournament. It's really anybody's game. On the back, that's very scoreable compared to the front.
There's no doubt that whoever wins this tournament will be setting a hot pace in the back 9. It is a scoring 9, as you mentioned. And we will kick it off right here on hole 10. A 175-meter par 4, a very generous fairway in terms of width. You do have OB to the left and the right, as well as a small hazard inlet marked by these yellow flags. Anything that goes too tight to the corner there off the tee will find themselves with a penalty stroke, but a very attackable hole for 2 backhand hyzers for the right-handed player. This green requires often a small skip to get up to the basket given the restriction on height, but a very attackable hole. We get a chase card check-in here with Silver. Silverlet had a super hot first round at 12 under and an even second round. His third so far is looking closer to his first round than his second as we see him dissect this hole.
Going with that signature Silverlat, slight anhyzer sidearm. He's player that usually prefers that sidearm approach over the backhand, especially from that distance. And this is a short putt for the birdie. Not surprising there. This is a hole that all of our players, and honestly everybody in the field, is trying to birdie and will be disappointed if they don't.
Absolutely. We see Kevin here. A great pushing hyzer, some fantastic distance that gives him a simple, straight look to the basket, probably only 40 or maximum 50 remaining to the pin, and a great use of the width there. He threw far enough to potentially enter the hazard, but kept it wide enough to be safe. Teemu there as well with a good placement shot, and that's really all that's needed.
Daniel going full power here, trying to get over the hazard potentially. And looks like he has done it. What a huge shot. He's going to be within putting distance. That's no more than 25 meters to the basket. Potentially trying to get an eagle after having a lackluster front 9.
Certainly a smash. Nestori with a more traditional shot, just the placement hyzer short of the hazard. He'll be a little bit more left than he would like, but certainly a manageable birdie position. We have Teemu up first, however, looking to access the green, leave himself with a short putt.
And that's in the circle, but not very well done. You would really like to be inside of 5 meters or even in the bullseye on this hole. The approach sets up so well for really any shot, especially the backhand slight hyzer, just like Nestori has done there. Even have that bit of an upslope before the basket, so you don't have to be as careful with the speed control as on some other greens.
Kevin as well, just a little bit shy on the power there, but certainly a fine position. Daniel putting for eagle. Gave it the height and the float. Unfortunately just a bit to the side, but I don't think anyone's sad with a tap-in birdie.
And that's a good putt to start off the back 9, off the cage and in. He's not going to be fully happy with the release, but the birdie on this hole is exactly what he needed. And Kevin here also getting a birdie, moving to 6 under. He's having a hot round right now, potentially even challenging his round 1 where he went -10.
And Daniel there left with that short look. I'm glad to see that there are people playing aggressively on this hole. If you have the distance, it really is a manageable position to get to a circle 2 or just outside circle 2. But of course it requires a big arm. We move to 11.
And we're starting off the back nine with a pair of easy holes. Hole 11 is also so manageable that you are disappointed if you're not in the circle every time. Only 85 meters, nothing in the way for the majority of the flight, but at the very end you have some low-hanging branches and a few trees. You can choose to either play a skippy hyzer, low to the right side, or just a dead straight shot. Another chase card checking here. Silver with a rare backhand. Well, not really super rare for him, but he's more comfortable with forehand. And not the most well-played shot there. He's going to be outside the circle on the right side.
But I have a good feeling about this putt. And just stripes it. At no point throughout that flight did it ever look like it was not going to go in. And even outside the circle, Silver still maintaining that pressure on the lead card. We see Kevin here, fantastic height control. That's exactly how you want to enter the green. Does find one of those late trees, but a well-thrown shot that will give him a birdie look.
Teemu here hitting the hyzer gap just beautifully with a slow disc. That's well in the circle, gonna be just a short putt left. And Daniel with a rare sidearm on this hole. There is a bit of a left to right slope on this hole, I believe, on top of the uphill that doesn't really play well for the forehand, and he's gonna be well out from there.
And Nestori nestles his disc right up into the green. Daniel opting for the knee to open up the height on that putt, but still catches a bit too much of that ceiling for a clean release. And Kevin is just dialed in right now. These last two rounds from him really impressive as he makes to look a push for the podium. Nestori as well securing the two.
Yeah, not only the podium, but he's not more than 2 strokes off the lead right now, even with Teemu getting that birdie. And Kevin, I feel like having definitely the most of momentum out of all players on this card. He's playing so much better than everybody else. You know, I think even though Teemu and Nestori are in first and second place, Kevin is probably first one on their mind when trying to protect that lead.
And this is a hole where they will want to protect their lead. Hole 12, only 157 meters par 4, the first 100 of which are an incredibly tight tunnel with incredibly thick rough to the left and right. If you can make that 100-meter straight shot, the fairway bends 90 degrees to the left, where you have these late guardian trees. You have to pick your gap and try to approach this green. The work really here is done off the tee. The approach and putt are normally fairly routine, as we see here Morten Brenna from our chase card. Absolutely lacing this shot. Spoke a touch too soon. Looked as if it would continue to flip, but you see him shaping his angles to the green.
And that's such a beautiful sidearm. You know, that's what you have to do when you're a little bit short of the corner. Really, a backhand hyzer will fade out left early, but that forehand turnover is the way to go. And Morten on the next hole, the triple Mando hole number 14, going pretty low off the tee. That's going to be well short, but looks like he's running it from here.
What a bid. Fantastic control of that nose angle. You saw it hyzering out at the last moment just when he needed it. Well done. We go back to our lead card on hole 12. A critical moment for anyone looking to try and win this tournament. Hole 12 stands as one of the final significant obstacles to pushing through to that win. Kevin a bit to the right side. Teemu here with a nice forehand flip up the middle. Anywhere near that tee pad you see in the right of frame is a good indicator for a spot that will give you a straight look to the green.
Yeah, and Teemu there, even while being on the right side of the fairway, he will have a difficult stance, but the angle to the green will be great from there. Unlike Nestori, who was kicked on the right side, on the left side of the fairway, and really anytime on a left bending par 4, if you're on the inner corner, you're gonna have a tough angle to approach the green.
Daniel getting caught up on the left inside, the least favorable position to find yourself off the tee shot. And he's going to look to scramble a forehand roller here. Curls out a touch early, but should be enough distance to the corner to get a look to the green. Kevin with a very technical, patent-pending backhand shot here. One of the first small mistakes even we've seen from Kevin this round, but still should be enough to try and salvage his par.
Nestori trying to fight through the inside corner. He has actually gotten a good kick, and he's kind of where the perfect drive would land. So not much of an approach left from there, only about 50 meters. As Kevin is continuing his struggle on this hole, he will likely have to settle for a bogey.
Teemu just perfect control of all the angles there. You mentioned his ability to shape that force over Anheuser forehand with a more stable disc. That was on display right there. Daniel still pinched on the corner, tries to push through that far side and kicks back to center fairway. He'll be left with a long downhill putt. Nestori, on the other hand, just chipping up to the green.
Yeah, well done there. Let's see if Kevin is trying to run it still for save. It looks like he was. That's a decent run, although he will have to get some over par strokes on this one.
Absolutely. Kevin currently tied in second with few holes remaining. Teemu Lampainen right there securing the birdie with two perfect shots, dissecting this hole as best as anyone can as he continues to storm ahead in first place. And Daniel with a putt that looks to just not come out of his hand in time. And perhaps a lapse in focus there as he takes the double bogey. Kevin going to be taking his first single bogey of the round, but still very much an impressive performance so far at 6 under, even with that bogey here on 12.
Yeah, and it's just such a bogeyable hole. You know, as you said, kind of the last really daunting hole on the back nine. Everything from here on out is more or less of a birdie hole. And we're moving on to one of those right now, hole number 13. It is demanding with a triple Mando gate, but the distance of 75 meters and the shot shape perfectly straight, very manageable for a straight to stable putter. Really, I think the most difficult part about this hole is managing the distance. So there is OB long at about 12 meters past the basket, and if you get your disc a little bit high in the air with a little bit too much speed or a little bit too much spin, you can easily float to that long side OB.
Teemu showing us that backhand touch, a beautiful skip, and he has pinned it. It might look like an easy hole, but actually parking this one is much more difficult than it may seem. We go to Kevin now, an important moment to see if he can bounce back after his first bogey of the round. And he comes in a very similar spot to Teemu, but you can see just how touchy that green is. He goes quite long left with about 8 or 9 meters left uphill for his birdie.
Nestori once again with that touchy sidearm of his, going with a very glideless disc. I like to play going low and trying to skip it all the way there. Daniel, I think he's trying to go for a bit of a flip up, but that's just a late release, and he hasn't missed the Mando, but that's going to be a par at best and still not the easiest of approaches from here.
An interesting choice from him to shape that Anheuser flex at such a short distance. Very overstable disc. Kevin with a putt. That is such a critical moment. The pressure on him there, if he wants to continue to push for the lead with the holes dwindling, a really important putt for him to make, and he does just that to the crowd's delight. Nestori, on the other hand, with a slightly late release. But good for the comebacker. No damage done here.
That was a super weird miss. Like, I feel like Nestori's strength normally is definitely the putting. He's one of the strongest putters we have, both inside the circle and outside. And he's really good at keeping the putts online, but that one just came out super far on the right side. We will have to see whether he can hold that at least some confidence
Here we are on the very tricky hole 14. Again, a shorter par 4 at only 176 meters, but it does require two very accurate placement shots, particularly off the tee. You need a disc that moves quite dramatically to the right throughout its flight, beating this Mando corner here, which we're flying around. If you can put yourself anywhere near that corner or its edge, you will then have a straight to softly hyzer look towards this green. You have rough lining the left as well as OB long and to the right of the green. A lot of players will look to throw an overstable disc on both shots, most likely, forehand and then backhand. Teemu, if you look at his scorecard, you see he has birdied six of the last 9 holes, and a fortunate break from him there on a slightly inside release.
Yeah, I think this hole is all about the distance control of the tee. You want to get close to that long side OB line to open up the angle for the second shot, but of course without going all the way to the OB. And that's a good shot from Kevin there. He's gonna have a straight, maybe a slight hyzer look from there. Didn't move that far right, so not the most aggressive shot. Let's see if Nestori goes more inside here. And he does a little bit. Pretty similar spot, also very playable. Looking to potentially take a stroke from Teemu, who is not in birdie position at all.
Daniel here, another situation where we might expect him to throw the forehand, but he goes for that aggressive roller line. At this point in his round, not much to lose and a really tough break for him off the OB stakes. That looked like it was going to wrap well in bounds if it were able to complete its roll and finds one of those skinny sticks. Tough break for Daniel, but Teemu, knowing he's slightly out of position, just gets himself to circle 2, does not push it too much. We will see Kevin here look to make a push for the green, however.
A really nice angle here and a perfect shot landing in the bullseye. Only 5 meters left for the birdie there. And this is very important for Nestori as well. Trying to get some strokes finally on Teemu, who has been playing just flawless. Such a difficult task to catch the leader when they're not getting any bogeys and birdieing more than half the holes.
Daniel as well, shaping that hyzer shot. Really well done. He's done it in 2 shots, but will be taking a par with that putt, given the OB off the tee. And Teemu here, knowing that he'll be all right with the 4 going into the next hole. As you mentioned, an opportunity here for Nestori to take one on the leader. And well done there.
Yeah, good comeback after missing the one on the last hole. You know, it can often be tough when you have a really, severe miss on one of the holes to make the next one, even though normally it might be routine. And Kevin there just continuing the incredible round. He's already 8 under. Remember, the course record is 12 and he has 4 holes to play, so potential to even chase that course record, especially with holes like hole number 15 left. Par 4 of 201 meters, the longest hole on the course, but definitely not the most difficult. Mostly open off the tee, you need to throw a straight shot that lands somewhere near the left side OB to open up this angle to the right bending second shot. Ideally from a long drive that lands near the left side OB, you will have a straight or even a hyzer shot to the green. It's one of the easier par 4s, and anybody who takes par on this hole will likely lose a stroke to someone very significant in the tournament.
We get the chase card check-in here with Pekka Huvonen. Absolutely blistering this drive. Late flip, late stability. And he is way up there, even near the spectators watching hole 14. His upshot leaving him here for the birdie. Elias, talk to us about Pekka's game. What are his strengths?
Pekka he was in this tournament the best or the second best driver in a lot of categories. His backhand is incredible. His putting wasn't great, but when it's on, he can be just phenomenal. But I would say he's one of the best backhand throwers in Europe right now. As we already saw Kevin there, he's going to be on the right side. That's a tough angle to approach the green from.
Nestori here really pushing that left side fairway as much as he can, and that is what you want. You see there, marked safe. That will really open up the angle on the second shot. Might be a little bit scary to be that close, but exactly where you could go and place your disc if you were allowed to look for the birdie. And Teemu as well, slightly more in the middle of the fairway, but nearing that walking path. That's a good indicator of when the green opens up for a straighter look.
Daniel here, I believe, going with a fast fairway driver, but he's also a little bit more right than he would like. And from here, it's a very tight angle, having to go far right. He's playing the skip shot, which is an unusual play. Often from that position, people are going for either a high sidearm or a high turnover.
And Nestori gonna shape that Anheuser forehand into the green. Well done. You touched on it. Some good ability to manipulate those low glide discs. We go to Kevin here, who is in a really tricky spot, tight to the corner. If he can manufacture any sort of putt, it will be impressive, but he's pushed this too straight. Given how far he threw it, he had such a small angle to try and enter the green, and I think not going to find a good look for birdie here, but should be able to make it up and down for par. Teemu with a very solid approach.
Yeah, nice forehand there, showing off his strength once again. Those low speed, flat, overstable forehands. And Kevin there, pretty tough spot for being on this hole, but he's gonna be good for the par most likely there. And Daniel, let's see a birdie. That's not gonna be the case, unfortunately, having a tough round.
And Nestori, good for the birdie there, but unlikely to take a stroke on Teemu unless he misses this short putt. And you hear the crowd there. You really touched on it well, Elias, that how do you catch a leader if he's not making mistakes and birdieing the majority of holes? You need to set quite a ridiculous pace to try and push them. As we see these guys moving to the final 3 holes of the tournament.
Yeah, and I feel like Teemu, you know, he was making some of those mistakes on the front 9, but on the back, not much. You know, there isn't really much room for the other players to get the strokes. He really had to do the work early.
He has another opportunity for work here on 16. Only 171 meters par 4. You want to drive that pushes through this tunnel and beats these large trees. Anything that gets near these benches or out into the open field will leave you with a short chip, backhand or forehand hyzer into the green, where you want to nestle up to the basket. You do have OB narrowing to the left along the creek and right along the white stakes, but one of the more easy and attackable par 4s on the course, given its short distance and generous width of the fairway.
Nestori absolutely ripping a shot into the middle tree. That's the one you want to miss. Had he gone past that, he probably would have been in just the chip shot range, but now he will have to work for the birdie. Let's see, Teemu also throwing towards the same tree, and this might go OB. That's a bad kick off the tree, but luckily staying in bounds, and from there it's not too difficult to get up and down.
Kevin pushes the ceiling but gets through very nicely. If he can sit down in time, and he does, that will shape very well for the left side entrance to the green, although he seems to definitely favor the backhand approach, which would be more accessible from the right side of the fairway. Both of those positions from Daniel and Kevin, fantastic. Really not anything more than that needed for a short birdie look, but Nestori, as you mentioned, still needs some work here, and fantastic shot to fight through that ceiling.
Yeah, well done there. He chose the left lane. Teemu here going for the right-hand hyzer. Potentially even the easier shot from that position. And that's well done. Well in the circle. This hole was not playing very difficult. Over half of the field, of the entire field, was getting the birdie on this hole. So of course these top players are really gonna be disappointed if they don't have a look. And everybody in good position here. Daniel trying to save some face and make a good birdie. That's well done. And you know, of course he shouldn't be ashamed of his round, but I'm sure he's more disappointed than for the majority of the rounds you can have on camera.
And I think with any player, when you know the potential that you're capable of achieving and you feel that you fell short of that as a competitor, it's a natural reaction to be displeased or unhappy with not reaching that potential. But Daniel certainly has played a good tournament and I think is still fighting for a top 10 position, which a lot of players would be happy to end on.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, you have to remember a lot of times we get kind of polarized with these lead card coverages because all of the players on the lead card are playing their best golf in the previous rounds. So we only see the best players that are playing their best game right now. So it's rare that we see somebody really struggling. As we're moving on to a difficult hole number 17, 139 meters of distance. There's this late gap that you have to hit about 15 meters short of the basket. That's the main obstacle on this hole. You can shape an Anheuser or a straight shot or even a forehand if you want to. Just avoid the OB on the right side and try to hit that gap late.
So we have a fairway cat walking by the tee. Nestori, unfortunately, with a low release out of the hand, really didn't have a chance to glide. We will see Teemu here with a healthy lead and 2 holes remaining. Quite simply needs to put this inbounds. And he's fighting towards that right side OB, but I believe found enough late stability to be safe. And that's solid distance up the fairway. Should be a very manageable 3 at worst.
Kevin going a little bit too high, I would have to assume. Looked like he was trying to go for a nice high as a flip, but just got the nose a little bit up. He's gonna have a simple approach from there. Daniel really would like to get this birdie right now, but that's not quite the turn he wanted. Let's see if he gets through the last trees. And that's also not an easy look, but well in circle 2. I'm sure that's a place he will be running it from in this situation.
Certainly, and he might have even snuck his way just barely into circle 1. Nestori here, with really the only mistake you can make on the approach is sending it long. You saw that slope just behind the basket. It even used to be closer to the slope, the basket placement, to sort of challenge players even more to get close off the drive, but they've pulled it forwards a few meters now, and it definitely encourages players to give it more of a run from that circle 2 distance like Kevin just was. This is Daniel here for the birdie.
Still some putt left for the comebacker. Important putt here for Nestori to stay in position for the second place potentially, or at least the podium. You know, Silver Lat, as we mentioned, is playing incredible on the second card. You know, Kevin on our group is playing great. Daniel with a tough miss there. So Kevin here, he will actually be 1 stroke ahead of Nestori going into the last hole.
A changing of seats, a twist of fate here on 17. Certainly a differentiator in terms of ability and the chance to separate from the field, get a stroke that most players won't have a good chance to do. And we go to the final hole, 18. This is a par 3 uphill at 103 meters, but probably playing closer to about 120 or 125 in required distance to get to the green. You have OB lining the left and right side. If you can get to about this distance, it opens up to the left, so if you hyzer in early, you can still be inbounds, have a sneaky little look to the green, but you see this severely sloped hill where the basket is perched can challenge players to make sure they find the chains, because anything that hits the hill or cage or band has a significant chance of roll away. If Teemu can throw a good shot here, he can lock in the tournament.
Pretty much only inbounds needed here, and looks like he has done it. Great looking shot, just a little bit long, pushing far side of the gap, but he's gonna have an easy pitch up under the basket for his first international win. I believe his first 8-year win as well. Let's see Kevin lock in the second place here, hopefully, but that's quite a ways out, opening the door for Nestori potentially to step into that door.
And Kevin is currently tied for second. If he can manage a birdie on this hole, could potentially take solo second. Nestori finds the early hyzer, but as I mentioned, it is in that part of the fairway that opens up to the left. He will be safe. Daniel as well. A lot of height on this hyzer. Catches something and looks to be slapped down. Will be left with a long circle 2 look. Very common landing zone here on 18. Difficult to make it all the way to the pin. We have Nestori up first. What a putt for birdie. Nestori Tuhkanen. Wow.
That's incredible, and he was actually able to lock in his tied third position. Look at that, dead center. Perfectly thrown. And he's gonna be on the podium for sure with that one.
What a fantastic way to cement third place. We see Kevin here with a chance to cement solo second. And he finds it as well. These guys out here to compete and matches his 10 under from day 2. Kevin Konsorr making a statement. He's here to play as one of the best in Europe.
Incredible performance. He is, of course, Teemu winning the tournament, just incredible. But Kevin, hat off to him for playing an incredible event. And now it's time for the champion, Teemu Lampainen. Just a tap-in away from carding his first 8-year win. Congratulations, Teemu Lampainen, your Belgian Open Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series champion of 2024.
So your 2024 Belgian Open MPO champion, Teemu Lampainen. Come on!
And what a special moment for that young man, representing his country at the new Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe and making a statement that he was the best player here in Europe this weekend. What a tournament, Elias. We see the final standings. Our lead card up there, silver, tying for third as well from the chase card. And just an overall fantastic start to the season. You see some great scores and rounds put together there as well for positions 4th through even 12th, getting double digits. Elias, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, and hope to see you guys in the next event.